All right, join us now on the Drive the Lane podcast. Fran Fraschilla, all the way from University of Penn.
Seems that way. Fake background. Full disclosure.
Coach, welcome to the show.
It's a pleasure. I think last time we talked TBT basketball. Now, in this crazy time, we're getting to watch college basketball. I'm getting to call it a little bit. And so, it's great being with you guys.
And we're so excited about having you on because, it was fun. It was fun with the TBT, but, we're in our element. College hoops, that is our element. And, we would be remiss if we didn't ask you first and foremost.
Yeah.
How the heck did they get this done playing this season?
It's, I'll tell you my philosophy on this, Joey. I don't know how they're getting it done. We're getting it done in fits and starts. But I promise myself and my friends, I'm gonna have a joyful season. Like, I'm not gonna be one of those negative Nellies, like the guys you read about in USA Today, that think the world's caving in. There's no question. The first thing we got to do is keep everybody as safe as possible. Coaches, players, staff members, and a few spectators that are allowed in at the games, referees, of course. But once we got everybody healthy, and we know there's going to be some rocky times, I have a total joy for this season because we're just so thankful we got guys playing basketball. And one quick thing, I talked to about 10 coaches in the last week, and every one of those guys said to me, my kids just want to play hoop. They just want to be out there. So we got to keep them safe, but I also think it's fun that we're back out playing college basketball.
It's definitely a weird and interesting year. I mean, we saw Villanova crowned champions of a tournament one day after the season started, which was obviously a little weird and a little different.
Yeah.
Wondering what your early returns are on the season.
It's so first of all, I'm not overreacting to anything that happens early. You have teams like I did a Louisville Seton Hall game last week, I think the day after Thanksgiving. And Seton Hall was shut down for 14 days, practiced on a Monday, Tuesday, traveled Wednesday, I think it was. Let's see, the game was Friday. So, they had 4 days of practice, and they're playing Louisville on the road. So I'm not overreacting to upsets, crazy scores, any of that stuff. I just think that let's get through the first month. Let's see everybody get 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 games under their belt. And, we know Gonzaga is good. I'm no rocket scientist, but I know Gonzaga is pretty good, but I'm not going to overreact to a lot else right now because we don't know because so many teams have had to stop and start because of the virus.
And you touched on it. I think the most interesting thing about this year is going to be prep time, whether it's practices being canceled because of scares, or you don't even know who you're going to play in a week because you have an open slot. We talked to Coach Holtman last week, and he said he was taking calls up until the first game of the season and still is to try and fill out the schedule. How would you approach it as a coach? If you have 1 day of prep in this COVID world, what are you trying to do?
Well, first of all, I would go back to my AAU days because that's what this is, But no, seriously, like I have this, I tell all my young coaching friends, the number one job description of a college coach, especially at the high major level, is crisis management coordinator. It's not recruiting. It's not X and O's. It's how do you deal with adversity? And so, like, you just got to go with the flow. And hopefully you've had enough practice time in those periods of time during the season where you had to get shut down for a while, get back playing. You do the best you can. You can't overreact. And a lot of this, like Jay Wright, for example, they at 1 a.m. 2 nights before they lost to Virginia Tech, they agreed to play Virginia Tech. So they had it was like an NCAA tournament game.
Right.
It's like you played a late game, you win, it's 1 a.m. You go, okay, who do we got? Who are we playing? Well, in this case, it was Virginia Tech 2 days later, and they got beat by a good team who played great. But, Jay didn't overreact. And then, and I know this because, my son Matt is there as the video coordinator. But then they had a chance to pick up another game with Hartford. And, again, very little prep time, and they're doing it. So to answer your question, I just think you go with the flow. I've found that during my coaching career, the times I overreacted to adversity and got nervous about it, my team got nervous. when I kept to my cool, bus breaks down, we're in a snowstorm, we're going to be late for the game, which, by the way, happens at the low and mid-major, all the time. I just told my guys, let's go have fun. Hey, guys, here's the deal. We're getting to the arena. We're going to get there 30 minutes before. You'll have time to warm up. Everybody change quickly. Let's get out there. And more often than not, Joey, we played well. I think it's all mindset.
It's so funny that those situations even, and it's kind of cliche to say, but it brings the team closer together, like a COVID, like a bus breaking down. And the best example of that is when the Michigan plane almost crashed, and then they played in their practice uniforms and won the Big Ten championship. I mean, it's just crazy how that works.
That is the ultimate example of handling adversity. The ultimate, that Michigan State run that year. And you're absolutely right. One quick story. When I was at St. John's, my second year, we turned it around. We were heading to the tournament. We got on some great winning streak. I had this freshman by the name of Ron Artest. Okay.
Never heard of him.
Yeah, I know. He changed it.
Better World Peace.
Changed his name. I don't know what happened to the guy afterwards. But we got stuck on the way up to the Syracuse Carrier Dome. To go up to the dome, you're on a hill. And we were in a blizzard, and we got stuck on the hill. It was like 150 yards from the arena, and we're playing on ESPN. And we're stuck for an hour on the hill. And finally, my guy said, Coach, can we just get out and walk? We're so anxious to play. And we were already dressed for the game because back in those days, we changed in our uniforms at the hotel. We went up and kicked Syracuse's butt in the dome. I think we won by like 5. But still, the point was they wanted to play. They didn't care. So you got to have a good mindset about adversity. And this is a season of adversity.
So you talked a little bit about, not taking anything for granted and not reading too into the season so far.
Yeah.
So I'm a Mizzou graduate, and we got Oregon tomorrow night.
Yeah.
And let me tell you this: if they beat them, I'm going to say that they're one of the best teams in the SEC.
You can do it. I give you permission, Andrew.
All right, thank you. Yeah. But I don't think it's too early to say that Luka Garza is going to win Player of the Year.
Well, I think that he's certainly the front runner without a doubt. I mean, and I love this guy. Got a chance to get him on my podcast this summer. Father's a great guy. I just saw Cade Cunningham play. I've watched him practice. I love him, but he's a freshman. He plays like a freshman, as good as he is. And there might be a couple other guys in the mix, but Luka, based on last season, based on the fact that, quite honestly, it wasn't a runaway for Obi Toppin. It was nip and tuck the whole year. And I think because Dayton was going to be a number 1 seed, that's why Obi got a lot of the late votes. I think Luka's people wanted to stop the count, but no, I think Luka could have very easily been Player of the Year last year, if not for the great run by Obi's Dayton Flyer team.
So give us some under the radar guys that we should watch out for, whether it's a mid-major guy or just a guy who's not getting enough love, not necessarily to win the Player of the Year, but an all-conference, a third-team All-American, maybe a guy like that.
Let me think about that. Well, I'll tell you, a kid from Dallas is no longer a secret. Drew Timme.
He's incredible.
I watched him last year, and I knew I did a game late at Gonzaga last year, coincidentally against San Francisco, who just knocked off Virginia. And I've seen Drew since high school. His son, he played in my son's division, district in Dallas. We call it a district. And I'm surprised like Kansas or Duke or Kentucky even didn't recruit him, but he's like the perfect zag, Joey. Mm-hmm. And last year, if it wasn't for Petrusev having a good year, when Petrusev left, I said, Drew Timme's going to be an All-American this year. And right now in Dallas, if you look at it, because I'm Dallas-centric at the moment, living in Dallas, but Cade Cunningham, Marcus Garrett, and Drew Timme all have a chance to be some sort of All-American. They're all from Dallas, but Drew's a tremendous player. I love him. I'll tell you, I don't think Kispert gets enough love either. That guy's dynamite. And, of course, we know Jalen Suggs is off to a great start. So those 3 guys come to mind as I think around the country. I'm impressed with this kid, Jalen Johnson from Duke. Tremendous talent from Milwaukee. Mm-hmm. I like him a lot. So it's early, but I'm trying to think of who else. Jeremiah Robinson Earl, my son, told me was going to be a lot improved this year. And that's why he went to Villanova, because you knew he was going to stay for 2 instead of 1.
Right.
And
Right.
now, as a second-year guy, like Sadiq Bey, like some of the other Villanova guys, he's probably going to be a high pick.
It's a little weird to me. You mentioned Jalen Johnson. I know Ohio State recruited him, and I know that this dude's a stud. But when you look at teams like Duke, North Carolina, Kentucky, this year's odd for a bunch of reasons. But they're not a powerhouse. It seems like they might be ranked in the top 10, but we just saw Kentucky lose to Richmond. I mean, what is the life of a blue blood like right now?
Well, I say this: not all one-and-done recruiting classes are created equal. Okay, like when some Kentucky recruiting classes have DeMarcus Cousins and Eric Bledsoe or Anthony Davis, and some of them have Skal Labissiere. You know what I mean? It's to be determined how good this Kentucky group is. I don't know about you guys, but I did some research on Richmond this summer, and that is absolutely no surprise.
Right.
I would have been more surprised if Richmond didn't win, simply because they got seniors. It would be like a good high school varsity team beating a very good high school freshman team. Like the freshmen, this might be a very good freshman team. They're going to be really good someday. But when you got a varsity team, and in this case Richmond with all those seniors, that no surprise. I mean, I think Richmond's a top 25 team. So to your point, not everybody is, not everybody's going to be Zion Williamson. They're going to be Wendell Moore or Matthew Hurt. And
I got two names for you.
Go.
Name number one, Jason Preston. All right.
Oh, yeah. Thank you. Go ahead. You want me to comment first?
Yeah, comment first, and I'll give you name number two.
Well, first of all, I'm an old Ohio U Bobcat, so I don't know if you were sneaking one by me there, Andrew. But but in all honesty, we had Ohio U in Myrtle Beach last year, and he was a sophomore, and I know the whole story. And so, the world discovered Jason Preston last weekend, and those of us who love basketball were going, no. First team All-MAC last year. But his story is incredible. He kind of plays like LaMelo. He looks like him.
He does. Coach Bowles obviously was my coach at Ohio State.
There's your guy, yeah, Coach Bowles.
So we love Bowles on this podcast, but I was at practice last year. Bowles was there watching, and he goes, Joey, I honestly, I don't like my team this year, but I got this point guard who is going to be so good. And I was like, all right, Bowles, Bowles, he just talks, and then fast forward to this year, all I see Jeff Goodman tweeting about for an entire day is this guy Preston. I watched the game, and I knew he was really good last year. And then it's just really, really cool. His story is just unbelievable. It's
an amazing story. He's a humble kid. Coach Bowles inherited him, which is cool. Mm-hmm. And we were on Ohio U. Now you got to remember, I coached there 35 years ago. I'm old, right? So we had a bunch of my former players all on this group text watching an Ohio U game 35 years later, which is kind of cool. And everybody was impressed with Jason. But I watched him last year at Myrtle Beach, talked to Coach Bowles about him, and really happy for him. Like I said, Goodman and those guys just discovered him.
Yeah. Not you.
Well, not a lot of us who follow MAC basketball. Those of us who are MAC junkies who've been on those 6-hour bus rides over to Kalamazoo from Athens.
Low action.
Yeah, exactly. So, All right, Andrew, who's the other guy?
Name number two, and this is just because we're such good podcasters and we're so good at transitioning to the next topic.
Yeah.
Name number two, Justice Ewing.
Yeah, you know what? I saw him at Cal. I'm really surprised he's off to this great start. I knew he was a good player. We had Cal in Brooklyn 2 years ago, and I was impressed with him. Is he from Hawaii or? Yeah, he's the kid from Hawaii.
Went to Mater Dei for high school.
That's right. He went to Hawaii, Mater Dei, Cal, and then he transferred. Yeah, I've only seen his highlights, but I'm impressed. And actually, from what I remember, I'm actually really impressed because I didn't know he'd have this much of an impact. So good for him. Go Bucks.
Go Bucks. It's a great transition, Andrew. You are a pro's pro. Before we dive into the Buckeyes, we have to talk a little bit Big Ten just in general.
Yeah.
And in my opinion, the Big Ten goes through champagne this year. It hurts me. It hurts my soul to say that. Yeah. But Ayo Dosunmu is I'm a Chicago guy. He's a
Yeah.
Chicago guy. I've been watching him play forever. It's actually crazy how I feel like I've been watching him play for 30 years. But he is the best closer in college basketball, and Illinois is the team to beat in the Big Ten, in my opinion. What do you think?
Yeah, I would have said that until Ohio U got screwed the other day over there.
Yeah, right?
Should have beat them. No, seriously. The interesting thing about guys like Io DeSumo you see every year is that he's not quite good enough to be a pro yet. So he's a great college player.
Yep.
You know, like he's the ultimate guy that's going to stick around for 3 years, maybe 4, kind of like Buddy Hield did, right?
Mm-hmm.
Buddy tested the waters as a sophomore, would have been like an early second-round pick as a junior. Then as a senior, he was the 6th pick in the draft. Or another Chicago guy, Javon Carter, right? Really was never good enough to be a pro coming up as a sophomore, junior, senior at West Virginia. And then as a senior, he's one of the best guards in the country, the defensive player of the year. And then because of his experience, his toughness, he's now pretty solidly entrenched in the NBA as probably a backup forever. And so in Io's case, I got to think if he was a top 25 or first-round pick, he'd have been gone. But that wasn't what the teams were telling him. Good for him. He's back. Big Kofi's back. Trent Frazier's back. They all of a sudden have gotten old.
Yeah,
and,
it's crazy.
And one of my coaching friends says this. Maybe Coach Holtman says this too, because they've been taking some good transfers lately. Get old and stay old.
Yeah,
Mike Bray philosophy. If you can't get one and done guys who can get you beat anyway, get old and stay old. Remember what I said about crisis management coordinator? I got a corollary to that. The new job description that you have to have is you got to be a roster management supervisor, because you no longer can build a quote unquote program. Even guys like Coach Holtman have got to build a team from year to year, and he's almost a GM now, because you got to take free agents, and the free agents, it's either freshmen, JUCOs, transfers, grad transfers with waivers, or international guys. And you got to be able to dip into everything. And nobody's done it better than Gonzaga, right? With all the different
100%
mixes. And that's how college basketball is now. Tom Izzo's taking transfers and Coach Holtman's taking transfers, and you have to do it because they're out there for you. And next year it's going to get worse because everybody's eligible.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt. It's crazy. I love talking about the Big Ten. I would much rather talk about Ohio State. But briefly, Wisconsin, Iowa, who else is on your radar as they can win the Big Ten?
Well, definitely Wisconsin based on what they did last year. I mean, their chemistry is always really good, and they got everybody back. It's kind of ironic. Kobe King quit suddenly, and they got better. Yeah. And no
subtraction is very real.
Well, you know what it is? It's like we used to call it addition by subtraction.
Yeah.
Sometimes you take one guy out of the mix and the chemistry just explodes. And, I think Iowa's loaded. I love their starting 5. I haven't seen them yet, but I'm anxious to see how Big Jack Nungy's back and healthy. And, certainly Luka and the McCaffrey guys, and Bohannon's back, and Wieskamp. Anxious to see if they'll play any defense, honestly.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think that me and Andrew could go out there and score 30 each on them. But
yeah. But here's what I would tell you, Joey. Based on what I've seen so far of Indiana today, Purdue was ugly early. They bounced back. I don't think the league is as deep as my man Rothstein thinks it is.
Yeah. What?
I got something real quick.
Go ahead.
An acceptable answer, and I give Joey crap for this all the time,
yeah,
is you can say that they're all going to tie like they did last year.
Yeah.
And that frustrates me every year that there's shares of the Big Ten championship. Every other league in the world, there's tiebreakers that tell you who wins it.
No, the Big East had 3 champions last year.
Well, besides college basketball, basketball.
Yeah.
It's I personally think it's frustrating. It was like that year when Ohio State beat Indiana, and then Indiana cut the nets down after a loss.
That was
right.
Crazy.
It's just I would not be opposed, and this would take a couple of years to happen. Yeah. I don't really get the purpose of the regular season championship and the tournament championship. I think it's obviously been around for years. It's awesome. It's cool. But you much rather win the Big Ten tournament, especially if you're, not guaranteed to be as high of a seed going into March Madness.
What happens if you go, 18-2 in the regular season, and you have clearly dominated the league, and you're the regular season champs, and you get upset?
Well, you're going to be a lock for the tournament if you're 18-2.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Not if you're in the SWAC.
Yeah, well, a low major. Let me tell you something. There's no bigger pressure than being a low or mid-major head coach.
Yeah,
March.
I think that's what makes college basketball so great, and that's where we differ. Is that the upset is there's no greater thing than a college basketball upset in any other sport. That is the greatest thing, and that's why tournaments in college basketball are the best thing in sports. So you lost me, Andrew. Sorry.
But you just said tournaments are the best, and I'm agreeing with you. I'm pro tournaments.
But what I would say is the reason we do all this is because it gives coaches more longevity. Because one coach could win the regular season or share a tie at a title, and another coach could win the tournament, and so everybody's happy. By the way, I got a text just now from Alan Major. Alan Major's texting me right now. He's watching the Duke-Michigan State game.
Please tell him that you're on my podcast and that I say hi. I love that guy.
He's a good man. He's texting me now.
We didn't even talk about Michigan State. They're winning. They're beating Duke on the road at half. When we started this, they were terrible.
They were awful early. And Jay Billis was, even killing them because he loves Izzo. But
Jay Billis was talking bad about the team playing Duke. There's no way.
No, I think he loves Izzo too. But he was, I'm looking here. I'm listening. Luckily, I have the sound down. I don't have to listen to Greenberg. But I'm just joking. But no, 13-4 run to end the half. And then, so good for Michigan State. I'll watch the second half, but not until we're done with this awesome podcast.
Well, let's get to Ohio State and the Buckeyes.
Let's talk Bucks, baby. Let's talk Buckeyes.
And if you're listening and you fast forwarded to this part, we recommend that you go back and listen to all of Fran because it's great.
Yeah,
but Coach.
Yeah. Yes.
The Buckeyes, Coach Holtman, Dwayne Washington, C.J. Walker. What are your thoughts?
I like them. I like their guard play. I haven't seen them play yet live this year, but I just like their mix. I like the way I think they finished strong last year, as I recall. But I think Coach Holtman is he's a good friend of mine, and he's a perfect fit for Ohio State, partly because we all know it's a football school, and he embraces that. He knows, like Rick Barnes at Clemson, Texas, and now Tennessee. It's being a basketball coach at a football school is one of the best jobs you could have because you do have pressure to win, but you don't have the day-to-day pressure, 365, to be great every single year because that's why it's a football school. So I think Coach Holtman fits in perfectly because his ego is low. He's an unassuming guy. He gets that, it is a football school, and he's doing a great job given that. I haven't seen him play yet, so it's hard for me to just dive into them and say, hey, they got to improve in certain areas. So don't hold me to anything, that I say.
You've given us more than enough. Trust me. We will dive in this episode. We dive deep into our thoughts. And granted, they're not as professional as your thoughts.
Well, the team better, but I do want to tell you this. Yeah. I've woken up like 5 times in my life since I left Ohio State because I was an assistant for 2 years under Gary Williams. And there's been 5 different times I woke up from the middle of a dream thinking I was back at Ohio State. And I was so disappointed when I woke up because it was 2 of the best years of my life. I loved being a Buckeye. I loved, the whole atmosphere, football, St. John Arena, Jay Burson, recruiting Jimmy Jackson. And by the way, the entire starting 5 that won a Big Ten title back-to-back. And then I left to go to Providence with Rick Barnes. Gary went to Maryland. Rick Barnes went to – I knew Rick because I replaced Rick at Ohio State. And, I'll be honest. I've only said this on one other podcast. If Randy Ayers had treated me better, he was the next coach. If he'd have treated me better the 2 years I was there, that guy would have 750 wins right now at Ohio State because he didn't know how to recruit. And when I left, and I never say this very much because usually you recruit as a staff, but after those kids that I helped recruit, Rick Barnes with Jimmy Jackson, Perry Carter, I was there when Jimmy was a senior, and then Jamal Brown. The only reason we got Jamal Brown was because I was dating my wife at the time, and he was playing in Dallas, and I wanted to go visit her. Chris Gent from Jersey, Bill Robinson. I knew the state of Ohio like the back of my hand because of my Ohio U days. And had I had a better relationship with the guy that became the head coach, I would have loved to have stayed, and we would have kept it going big time. And honestly, when he treated me the way he did, and I went to Providence, I wasn't unhappy years later that, they started bringing in guys that just didn't fit the Ohio State culture. And then obviously they had to make a change a few short years later.
Well,
I hate to be so direct and honest, but that's just the way it is.
Hey, that's the way it is. And we appreciate honesty on this show, obviously.
Yeah.
And
how dare you not lie to us on our
But
podcast?
I got to tell you, I love being a Buckeye. Like I was going to tell you this about recruiting now. When I was at Ohio U, and you go to Canton McKinley or Villa Angela, St. Joe's, or Toledo Maycomber, where Jimmy played, or Dayton Dunbar, Ohio U, you walked in and you kind of snuck in there. But when I put that Ohio State polo on, and I went up to St. Joe's, and I already knew everybody up there because I'd been at Ohio U for 6 years. I don't care if it was the late Lute Olson or Bill Frieder or Bob Knight. You walk into one of those high school gyms in Ohio, Camp McKinley, with a Buckeye shirt on, and it's like, okay, MFers, yeah, we're here. Buckeyes are here, MFers.
And they bring you a soft pretzel and a Diet Coke, too, for free probably, too.
Exactly. Hey, Coach, where you want to sit tonight? Hey, take care of the Ohio State guy. Coach, you want to sit behind their bench? Yeah, but I have so much great feeling for being a Buckeye and being in the state of Ohio for 8 years.
It's funny you say that, just because I felt that same way that you feel, even though I was from Chicago. I grew up a huge Ohio State fan. Yeah. I think that less and less the kids are, starstruck with Ohio State within Ohio, but the coaches still are. Like when coaches go on visits with their kids, they are like enamored with everything that's going on. And the kids are like, this is like every other place I've been to. Like some people just don't get it.
No, but it's funny you say that, because I'm sure Coach Mata did this. I got to think he did. He's such a good recruiter. But I used to help identify. I would tell Gary Williams, I'd say, Coach Williams, we got a freshman coming to the football game Saturday from Cleveland St. Joe's. His name is Tony Miller, okay? And where are you going to be at halftime? I'll be up in the press box. Okay, I'm going to take him up there. And so you get a really top freshman player on your campus at Ohio State for a home football game. As you know, Joey, you guys, I don't have to tell you this. It makes an impression early so that when the kids' recruitment does heat up with Izzo and Krzyzewski, you're already in pretty good. And that's a help. That's a big help, getting those kids on campus early.
The biggest sell is to go to those football games and to say, look, like, this is Buckeye Nation. And they're like, all right, I'm sold. Like, even when I'm hosting the kids, I think it's the coolest thing ever.
Yeah, well, you know what happens too is those kids run into people from Cleveland or Canton, wherever they're from, and like they're like, oh, I didn't know so-and-so goes to school here. I played AAU ball against him, I know he's not on the team, but he goes to school here. Yeah, oh yeah. But, I mean, that's the thing. There's such a community. It's a statewide community, as you know. And I still have these crazy dreams like, oh man, I'm back at Ohio State, and then I wake up, I go, damn,
We're definitely going to have one of those tonight.
It's cool. No, 2 great years. 2 great years.
I know Andrew has some more topics, questions he wants to ask you. The last thing that I want to say about Ohio State and St. John Arena is that you'll be happy to know that I played one game there my senior year. That was the first year they brought it back to play.
I remember that.
And I scored, and I did it for you.
Love it, man. Well, I don't think I told this story on the podcast, so let me tell real quick. I told you off the podcast, but when we played Iowa about 4 or 5 years ago, not we. Yeah.
I love that.
Ohio State's playing Iowa, and they asked me if I wanted to do the game. There was 4 Big Ten games that day. It was right before New Year's Day. It was like the 29th or 30th. So I said, yeah, I'd like to do a Buckeye game. So I go back, and I asked Dan Wallenberg, the SID, the day before the game, hey, is there any way you could take me over to St. John Arena and let me go in? Takes me over. He goes, look, I'm going to open it up. I'll come get you in 30 minutes. I walked around St. John Arena. I walked down the ramp. I walked up to the balcony where our basketball offices were, where Urban Meyer was a grad assistant the 2 years I was, a Buckeye. And it was the coolest thing ever because St. John Arena hasn't changed. And every so often I hear they're going to knock it down. And any chance I get back to Ohio State, I got to go see St. John Arena because not only did I coach there, but it was just an amazing place. Jerry Lucas, John Havlicek, Jimmy Jackson, the Clark Kellogg and Granville Waiters, and all the history of the place is amazing. Bob Knight playing in there, and Big Ten games in there, and it was a great home court too. Great home court.
So when we were doing TBT and we had you on,
yep,
I told you two great little nicknames: Mo Creek, Mo Money.
Yes.
And then Travis Diener was TD Ameritrade because I got stock in that guy.
Yes, yeah. I think I got Mo Creek, Mo Money on, right?
You did. You stuck Mo Creek, Mo Money into into the call. So this year for Ohio State, and we kind of jinxed it because then they had the COVID breakout with football.
Yeah.
We said Ohio State basketball, the only thing you're catching here is losses.
Yeah.
And of course, right when we say that, everything happens. So I'm going to put myself on the spot here. I want you to give me a player and team, and I'm going to come up with one of those sayings right on the spot.
Oh, let's see. Let me think. Luka Garza.
Luka Garza. All right. I need a second. Luka Garza.
Yeah. Let's help him out. Help him out.
I got it. Garbage Garza. He's cleaning up everything around the rim.
Oh, not bad.
We're stopping it with that. That was too good on the spot. If you do another one, then you got to sneak that in. When you do an Iowa game, if he has a bunch of offensive rebounds, you got to say Garbage Garza.
He's cleaning everything up around the basket. I like it. All right.
We need you on more Big Ten games, Coach. We need you on more.
I was just telling my wife that, I would love to do the Big Ten. But we got Dockich, and, Dockich is in Indianapolis, and I'm in Dallas. And,
whatever.
I know.
You know Dockich's son, Andrew.
Yeah,
I'm
good for him.
I'm just kidding.
How about Andrew? Yeah. Well, yeah, good for – hey, that is so strange that a guy could play at Michigan and Ohio State.
Oh, my God.
And pretty much be liked at both places, from what I can tell.
I guess he was liked at Ohio State. The jury's still out.
Okay, all right. Well, I'm not going to go there. It seems like I'm not going to say anything.
Joe, should we end it how we always do?
Yeah, Coach. How we always end. Now you're new to this show. How we always end this show is we give you the floor. And to ask us any questions that you've been dying to ask us.
Let's see. I'll start with you, Joey. What's your worst Ohio State moment?
Not even close. Sophomore year, Gene Smith, before the Big Ten tournament game, we're the 11th seed. Rutgers is the 14th seed. Before the game, Gene Smith goes, Coach Mata's job is not in jeopardy. He is our coach. We love him. Yada, yada, yada. We proceed to go out and lay an egg against the worst team in major college basketball, Rutgers at the time. Yeah. And then we go home for spring break. We're home, and I had surgery also at the end of the year, and then we go home for the summer. And Coach Mata gets fired while I'm at home recovering from surgery. That 2-month stretch, was the lowest of lows by far. When we lost to Rutgers, I was like, what are we doing here?
Oh, man.
No, by far.
I got an interesting side story to that. I was up at the Oak. What's the great golf club up in Detroit, Birmingham?
Oakmont?
Oakmont? No, that's Rochester.
Yeah.
Hills or something like that. Anyway, we're up there playing in a charity golf outing for Coach Campy at Oakland U. I'm playing with Coach Holtman. About that 10th hole, his phone blows up, and Coach Mata had been fired, and you had all these guys hitting him. Are you interested? And he was really low key about it. He didn't say a word, and he's such a gentleman, And then a week later, he's the new coach. But I was with him. It's really spooky that I was there when they let Coach go, and I happened to be with the new coach. Didn't know it. So
yeah, I mean, my story from what Holtman has told us is that he initially was like, no way, and then he warmed up to it. It was like I love Butler, but I would be foolish to not go to Ohio
Yeah.
State for every single reason we've already talked about.
Exactly. All right, one for you, Andrew. Give me what you think of Coach Conzo Martin.
Ooh. All right. I will say this.
Yes.
The greatest guy, from what I
Yes.
can tell, in the whole world, number one greatest guy.
Yeah.
I think his biggest pull to why we brought him to Mizzou was because he can recruit.
Right.
You know, Jaylen Brown, Ivan Rabb, all those guys.
Yep.
And gets to Mizzou, gets the great class with Porter and Tillman, and really nothing since.
Yeah.
So I think he's a great guy, fantastic motivator and leader of men. Got to see the recruiting improve, and got to see the on-court product improve.
So I think he's a tremendous guy, tremendous mentor. He's also, I'm going to be blunt, there's about a third of that league cheats.
Sure.
Maybe more.
I would imagine it's more.
It's probably more, and I'll let you guys figure out who does and who doesn't. But I know Coach Martin doesn't, and that's the hardest thing about that job is that he's trying to do it the right way. So that's my 2 cents. Wouldn't
you think Nike would want to diversify their portfolio a little bit and be like, hey, why don't you go to Mizzou?
Yeah.
Come on, we're waiting. Let's go.
I know this. If I had a son, and I have 2 sons, if either one of them wanted to play at Mizzou for Coach Martin, it would be over because he's that good a leader of men. And I do hope he gets better product, better level of player. And if I was a Jaylen Brown type and I could go to Mizzou and play under him for a year or two, I would do it in a heartbeat because he is a great man and a good coach. So, and a former Purdue star too. Pretty good player at Purdue.
Well, it seems like next time we have you on, not only will we be talking about how awesome Ohio State is, but we'll also be talking about all the teams that are cheating. And I look forward to that because that is deep down in my soul. That is what I want to talk about most about college basketball probably is that lifestyle. But we'll save that for another episode.
Let's do it. Yeah.
As you leave, Coach, as you leave, your three college basketball guys right now that you think would be TBT stars this summer, and then we'll let you go.
Ooh, that's a really good one. That's a good question. I got to think about that. It's got to be an upperclassman who's not going to be a pro. Well, let's see. Let me think about.
Or you can give one name. If three's a lot, you can give us one.
I want to see who I'd love to see play in TBT. That's I'm stuck because most of the guys that are in my mind right now are thinking they're going to be NBA players. But I would say Luka Garza for sure. I mean, I know his name's come up a lot tonight, but he would be a great TBT player. I could see him not playing in the NBA, although I think he'll make it. Go overseas and in the summer just look to play in some tournament and want to play TBT, right? So that would be
basketball.
Yeah. What's that?
I said he just loves basketball.
He loves ball, yeah. I'll tell you this. I'd love to see George Niang play TBT.
Ooh, that's a great one.
I think George Niang, even though he's having a good career in the NBA, would be a great TBT guy because he would talk trash. He would be better than he looks because he still looks like the fat kid from the Merrimack Valley in Massachusetts. So that George will hear about this and he would be good in TBT. And then if I had to go one more, here's one for you. I think Georgetown ought to have a TBT team and Coach Ewing ought to come out of retirement and play.
Boom.
And play.
Perfect.
That's a soundbite right there if I've ever heard one.
I think they might as well just throw the current Wisconsin roster on a TBT team in 3 years' time. I think they could win it all.
That's a great way to put it because I don't think they have they got some guys that'll make money playing, but I could see give them 5 years so they can go overseas for a couple. Yeah. Yeah. So what's our guy from Minnesota who takes
Brad Davison.
Yeah, Brad Davison, man, he'd be great in TBT.
Yeah, he'll be on our show eventually. We'll have him on.
I like to see Brad Davison after 4 years go out and play quarterback for Wisconsin.
Little Greg Paulus action.
Little Greg Paulus action. If not there, be a grad transfer at St. John's College back up in Minnesota, where they.
I love it.
Where Aaron Kraft and Brad Davison would just run into each other and take charges the whole TBT.
I got to tell you something. No, that's a great idea. If Aaron doesn't play TBT next year, which I think he will,
He will.
I think he's going to get tired of cutting up frogs there in the spring, in the laboratory in medical school, and he'll need a change of pace. But if we can get Brad Davison to play on that team with Aaron Kraft, they would be the most annoying TBT team ever.
People would be watching the TV, yelling at it like out of habit, like they're watching a Big Ten game.
Yeah, they would be the only team where there would be like 50,000 busted TV screens around the country because people would be throwing something at the TV every time one of those guys flopped.
We'll let Kyle Lowry play too.
He wouldn't be bad. That'd be good. All right. Well, I'll be thinking of some crafty, clever answers for the next podcast.
All right.
Perfect.
Okay.
Perfect. Coach, as always, we appreciate it. This has been so much fun, and we always are listening on the call. So the more you can throw out the random sayings, the more we'll eat it up and tweet it out for you.
Hold on, wait a minute. Hold on. We got to sing Hang On, Sloop Me. Hang on, Sloop Me. All right. I had enough. All right, man. See you guys.
All right, Coach. We'll talk to you. Thanks again.
You got it. Bye.